The story begins with a young girl who looks like a wolf. She's running through a dense forest and eventually climbs up a tall mountain. When she reaches the mountain's peak, she lets out a loud scream. At that moment, the sky above is cloudy, and there's an eerie dark red moon hanging in it. Meanwhile, 7 mysterious figures have a regular meeting with their leader, Shadow. Everything seems to be going as they planned, and there's peace in a major city. Their schemes are working. But then they hear about something troubling happening in the lawless city. They tell Shadow that there's a strange transaction there, and a lot of money is being sent into the city. This worries them because the lawless city is known for being strange. It's in the middle of the earth, and nobody really owns it. If something bad happens there, it could affect all other cities. They reluctantly decide to put their plans aside and deal with this issue. Shadow starts to speak, and he mentions that he can smell something unusual. Everyone around him gets puzzled and starts checking their own body odor. Some even quickly spray deodorant on themselves to make sure they smell okay. But then Shadow finishes his sentence by saying that he's actually talking about the lawless city, and it smells strongly of blood. He also warns them that there's a big storm on the way. Then suddenly there's a loud noise in the sky. The clouds move, and a red moon appears. They know this legendary red moon brings trouble and fear. They tell Shadow they need to find a solution quickly, but he assures them he'll handle it himself. They are uneasy because it's risky, and he might get hurt. He asks if they trust him and promises to use the best means available. They agree, even though it's a risky plan. Then, Shadow asks them if they find the moon beautiful. They all kneel and say yes, pledging their loyalty to him. They set out for the lawless city. In the lawless city, there are 2 unknown people who are observing from a distance. They're curious why other folks seem scared to approach the city's gate. These 2 strangers think that these other people are being afraid and call them cowards. They believe they can take on the vampires living in the city. You see, the lawless city is where the Fujita vampires reside, and their leader, known as the Blood Queen, is a very frightening figure. The city itself has 3 rulers, and the Blood Queen is one of them, holding a significant position of power there. The 2 men insist they can enter the city, but a vampire confronts them and asks why they want to go in. They try to show off their strength, but the vampire reveals his injured arm, draws his sword, and attacks them. In no time, their blood splatters in the sky, and the red moon appears again. On the other hand, there are 2 siblings named Sid and Claire who find themselves in the lawless city. Sid is a bit puzzled about why they're in this city, but Claire has brought him along. However, Sid is excited to explore a new city, and he likes how it looks. Claire tells Sid not to draw too much attention because she wants to keep her presence there a secret. He doesn't really know why they're visiting, so he asks Claire where they're going. Claire's plans are quite different from Sid's expectations. She wants to visit the Dark Knight Association before anything else. Sid has no idea what this association is because it doesn't exist in their own city. Claire explains to him that the Dark Knight Association is a secretive group specific to the lawless city. Sid may not completely understand, but he trusts his sister's judgment. He recalls a time when he was thought to be dead and buried, but somehow he's alive now. He doesn't fully grasp what happened, but he knows he's here. A few days ago, Claire won a competition, and she was declared the champion. Sid wants to celebrate her achievement, so he arranges a little party at the Miss Hoshu Chambers of Commerce. However, the celebration is interrupted when Claire reveals her intention to go to the lawless city to hunt vampires. She insists that Sid comes along, telling him it's for his future. If he learns from her and trains well, she can arrange for him to become a Midgar's Knight after he graduates. This seems like a good opportunity for Sid because he hasn't figured out what he wants to do after graduation. As they journey through the city, they pass by a pet shop. The shopkeeper tries to persuade Claire to buy some pets, complimenting her appearance and showing her various animals. Claire declines the offer and pulls Sid away. Sid asks her to stop dragging him, but she worries that he might get lost on his own, and it turns out she's right. Sid gets separated from Claire as he steps aside for some fresh air. He stands by the roadside, wondering how he'll find his way back to his sister. Suddenly, a thief snatches his purse, but Sid uses his magic to retrieve both his purse and the thief's purse. Similarly, he collected a lot of purse. Then, unexpectedly, a group of men starts attacking a ghoul. Sid is puzzled by their actions because he thought ghoul were strong. Suddenly, there is magical explosion and the moon turned red. Sid notices a magical waves. Then the vampire underling becomes violent and starts attacking them. Sid remembers the rumors about vampires turning anyone they bite into vampires themselves. As the moon turns red once again, Sid is unsure of what to do. He is confused if he should scream or kill them. Just when things look dire, a woman named Mary arrives and kills the vampires. She introduces herself as an ancient vampire hunter and advises Sid to run away immediately because a frenzy is about to begin. Mary swiftly flies toward the red moon, leaving Sid in awe of the city's adventurous nature. Meanwhile, Claire goes to Sid's hotel room to find him, but he's nowhere to be seen. She becomes frustrated because she had instructed him to stay inside the room like a good boy. At the same time, a man rushes out of the room adjacent to Sid's, chased by a mindless ghoul. Claire saved the man from the ghoul with a kick to the face. He remains terrified of her and apologizes out of fear. He doesn't understand what's happening but thanks Claire for rescuing him. Claire, however, isn't interested in his gratitude and asks the man if he has seen a young boy with dark hair and dark eyes. The man, utterly bewildered, has no clue who Sid is and believes Claire is acting strangely. In his panic, he grabs the nearest object he can find to protect himself, which happens to be the dead ghoul. In another part of the city, two of Sid's friends from the academy, Poe and Skell, find themselves in the red light district. They're on the hunt for women, hoping that tonight will be their chance to have some fun. They are fully aware that this could get them expelled from the academy, but the allure is too strong for them to resist. They believe it's a rare opportunity for two guys like them. However, their excitement is short-lived as they are suddenly kicked from behind by a group of ghouls. Realizing the danger, they panic and run away, screaming for their lives. The commotion caused by their screams awakens a woman named Marie in a nearby building. She realizes that she is being forced into unpleasant activities with other men. Looking out of her window, she contemplates the worst that could happen in her life. To her horror, she sees the streets filled with monsters. Fear grips her, and a ghoul enters her room, ready to attack. Just when things seem hopeless, the mastermind behind the scenes, Sid himself, arrives and saves Marie from the ghoul. He explains to her about the frenzy causing the crescent moon to turn people into ghouls and urges her to run as far away as possible. After conveying this information, Sid fades back into the shadows. At that moment, Marie's friend enters the room and learns about her rescue by the enigmatic Sid. This confuses her because Sid is known for being an evil mastermind. Nevertheless, Marie doesn't believe Sid is evil, and to show her support, she decides to break her contract and run away, even if it means risking her life. Speaking of escaping the frenzy, a woman named Yukime believes that nobody can ever get away from this nightmare. Her two subordinates inform her about the situation. Vampires have turned people into ghouls. She decides to take action at last. Meanwhile, Claire comes across a gruesome sight, what appears to be Sid torn apart into pieces. Grief overwhelms her, and she mourns his apparent death, expressing regret that she shouldn't have brought him to this city. Iris arrives and informs Claire that the deceased person she's holding isn't actually her brother. Instead, it's just a random individual. Claire takes a closer look and realizes that it's indeed not Sid. She is disappointed rather than relieved and asks Iris if she knows where Sid is. Iris tells her that she saw Sid laughing like a maniac down in the streets where the ghouls are running rampant. Claire, however, doubts Iris's words, thinking of Sid as her timid little brother who wouldn't have the courage to be in the midst of a ghoul apocalypse. Despite her skepticism, Claire agrees to listen to Iris's information. She learns that Sid has been taken by the followers of the Blood Queen to the Crimson Tower, the castle of the Blood Queen. Claire is puzzled as to why they would abduct Sid, considering him a random person. Iris explains that they took him to awaken the Blood Queen from her 1,000-year slumber, and for that, they need the blood of a living young man. Believing Iris's story, Claire takes out her sword and decides to team up with Iris to reach the Crimson Tower. Along the way, they defeat many mindless ghouls and introduce themselves to each other. On another note, Poe and Skell, the two guys who were running away early, still seem unrepentant about their decision to visit the red light district. They seem more focused on the physical attributes of the women they saw. As the situation escalates, even the town's law enforcement agencies are struggling to control it. In the midst of this chaos, the shadowy figure, Sid, takes it upon himself to rectify the situation. Meanwhile, Mort Crimson receives news that their plan to take over the city is facing resistance. He mentions that only two individuals can pose a problem for him, Yukime and the Juggernaut, who are the only obstacles to their plan to revive the Blood Queen. However, his subordinate informs him that there is one more person involved. The scene shifts, and we witness a confrontation between Yukime and the Juggernaut. Just as they are about to engage in a battle, Sid makes a grand entrance between them. Both Yukime and the Juggernaut are puzzled, and as always, Sid introduces himself in the most badass way possible. This brings an end to our episode. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to subscribe our channel.